And you're not going to ask any difficult questions about quantum physics or anything, are you?
Oh no, absolutely not.
If it is, I fail. I fail.
Well, I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome,
Thank
RJ
you.
and my Maggie.
It
So good to see you.
is so good to see you.
That's why I love Facebook.
I know you can never lose touch with people. It's like,
No, no, no. Okay. So I'm going to ask you about 6 questions and just do your thing, okay? The
okay.
first question is, what made you willing to open your heart to love again later in life?
Yeah.
Well, I think that I'd been single for quite a while, but I had never, I think my heart was always open. I don't think it was ever closed. But I just had not had any success finding the right person.
Mm.
So my heart was, it wasn't a matter of opening my heart, although the longer time went by, the more selective I became because I became more and more comfortable with myself and living alone, just me and a cat. So I was perfectly happy, perfectly content.
Ah,
Yeah.
wonderful. What about you, Maggie?
Well, similar to RJ, when you have so many failures, you're thinking like, is it just better for me just to be alone? I was a single mom and I had a cat as well. So it was like, I'm kind of really comfortable in my own skin. And I think it took getting to that point where one, it was important to heal up, I think, for me, I, for you too
Oh
as
yeah.
well, to heal up from the past, things that have happened, traumatic endings, relationships going down the drain, and getting to the point where you're in love with yourself and you're love being single and you're okay that if you were never to meet anyone or to have that dream love that you were perfectly fine with just being with yourself. And for me, that was important. Now, I went from marriage to marriage to marriage and finding, wanting to find that love. And I went in with the whole heart, but I went in with a heart also that was not healed from past relationships. So I would bring in, you know, uh, baggage and hurt and traumatic experiences into the next relationship. So being open to love for me was healing, first of all, foremost, and then getting to a place where I was loving me again.
Mhm.
And it was a process to get there.
And that I think that's critical. You have to learn to. Mag and I have similar backgrounds. I mean, first you have to even learn to like yourself
Yep.
before you love yourself. Kind of like baby steps, and it takes a while. It takes a while, but when you reach that point, then you are to the point like, yeah, your heart is open, but you're not desperate. You're not. You're like, I think we were both very content with our lives the way we
Very
were.
content.
And so the good thing about being in that position in life is you're you can be selective, not
Mhm.
judgmental of other people, but you can just wait for the right person.
Yeah.
The right fit.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be. And you have to be very transparent with yourself. I look back at like my past marriages, past relationships, and often there was something there that was a red flag. I know it's a cliche, the red flag, but there are some things that normally we shouldn't put up with. For instance, let's say if someone who had an anger problem and that kind of triggered something within me, but I went ahead and conformed to that and was like, well, he's got anger, but he's nice looking, he's got a good job. We drop our standards sometimes to make someone fit, and I think that's an error, and we've all been there at one point
Mhm.
or another. Yeah.
Mhm.
So for me, it was like coming into this relationship with RJ, I went in with no expectations, but I knew this is what I want and this is what I don't want. And if he somehow doesn't fit character wise, some type of moral wise, then I was okay with this. Like I don't have to continue with this.
If I could add, we met through online dating, which neither of us had had any success before doing that. But just expounding upon what she said, knowing what you want. And when I read her profile, she was very specific in what she was looking for in a partner. And I will never forget reading it and sending it to a friend of mine, a close friend. And I didn't want her to know what I thought about it. I just asked her, "What do you think about this?" And my friend said, "Oh my God, R.J., she's looking for you." I'll never forget that. And I said, I thought the same thing. I did. So it was really great that Maggie laid out, this is what I'm looking for in a partner. Yeah.
Oh, that's powerful. So was there a specific moment when you realized that she was the one or he was the one?
For me, I think so. And we spoke about this earlier today. I think you have to learn to trust your instincts.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times, kind of like Maggie said, we start making excuses. Well, this person's okay, except for these 3 or 4 things that I really don't like. Blah, blah. When I first met her, I knew, and my spidey sense, everything. And I'd been on, several dates for online dates, and I'll tell you what, I knew right away then too. I knew within 30 to 60 seconds I wanted to go home by myself with my cat. That's what I knew. and so my instincts, everything just seemed right. Like I was comfortable being with her. I mean that's an understatement. I felt like the feeling was mutual. So it was pretty instant for me.
Oh, wow. So, how has your understanding of love evolved as you matured? Because you're right, Maggie. When I was 20, when I was 30, when I was 40, I had a different mindset about love. And even now, doing these dating summits and listening to the coaches and the matchmakers, and I mean, it's a totally different world out there, and I'm the better for this experience. So talk to me a little bit about yours.
So I know when I was 20, things that were important to me was maybe more physical things. We kind of negate, or I should say, I negated character issues. I would put up more with a bad attitude, anger, maybe drug use, to he's a nice looking guy and we have fun. That was the 20s and maybe 30s. Now in my 60s, my whole list, dating RJ was I can get by if he's got some facial hair that I like, but everything else, I'm looking at morals, I'm looking at his honesty. Is he trustworthy? Is he good with money? Is he sensible? Is he empathetic? So I think as we get older, the more superficial characteristics kind of, or they should perhaps just, be lower on the totem pole and more um, good characteristics, what we really want in a good man or a good woman, are the things that we should align with:
Mm.
honesty, trustworthy, love, empathy, peacefulness, spirituality.
So this is a great question. And I love your answer because this is the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. That's
That's right.
powerful.
It is powerful. And I think there's something to be said about like minded goals. I mean, as our first date, we had so much to talk about and it wasn't forced. And like RJ said, he knew I had a feeling, but I'm kind of old fashioned. Like I really wanted to be pursued. I didn't want to pursue him. I just wanted to, like, here I am. This is what I'm about. If this is what you want, I'm feeling good about it, but I want you to pursue me. If you pursue me, I'm going to respond. And we had just so much to talk about. And we, spiritual wise, and how we viewed the world, how we viewed politics, how we viewed our families. They were so similar that even if he likes to go running and I don't, and I like to choose another hobby and he doesn't, it's okay because the things that are really the foundation, I think, of a relationship, that's what aligned. That's what makes it easy to coexist. Yeah,
Oh, that's powerful.
forever.
So, what fears did you have about dating at this stage of life? And how did you overcome them? Because there are a lot of people out there who have not quite picked well, and they're terrified to just jump in the water again.
Yeah.
No, no, you go first.
Um, well, I've made a lot of mistakes and I've picked wrong consistently up until now. And what I attribute that to are probably two things. One are unhealed places in our hearts. So past experiences, traumatic events, past relationships, etc. Um, I didn't deal with those very well. So it just affected how I picked wrong the next time. So it was very prolific for me to understand, Maggie, you cannot do this again. So what are those factors that are causing you to pick wrong? That would create fear because yeah, am I going to pick someone who has a drug addict, who has a drug addiction again? Am I going to pick someone who has narcissistic ability, so you're kind of going through that in your head. So healing is a big factor. And for me, that was doing a lot of self reflection. It was actually going into therapy and dealing with a therapist who took you through, cognitive behavior therapy, where here's, I want you to try this, I want you to do this. And so you're finding these places and healing this inner child. A lot of the things that I did that affected the way I picked was because it was groomed very early on. It was experiences that I had in my childhood that I never addressed. So it was a process to get to the point where, okay, I feel good now that I can get back out into society and try this again. Um, I had the second point, and I just almost lost my train. Um, Healing, and then once you are at a place where you are healed, the confidence will actually flip. For me, now I could actually go on a date and know this is what I want and this is what I don't want. I think it's imperative for people to really be clear about what they want, what they don't want to put up with, what they've had in the past they don't want to repeat, and not to be in any rush or, like you said previously, desperate. You're not desperate. You can wait as long as you need to wait to find what it is that will work for you.
And also, I guess I didn't have any fears anymore because you don't ever have to go on a second date. You go out one time, and if you just don't feel the chemistry's right, you can just say, "Hey, I think you're a great person. Everything. I just don't feel the connection." And
Yeah.
and actually, I had a woman tell me that one time, and I admired her so much for it. Because it's hard to tell somebody that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really necessarily feel a strong connection with her, but she was honest with me right up front. RJ, I just don't feel a connection. I wish you the best. And I was like, good for you, because sometimes we worry about hurting someone's feelings, but it's
Mhm.
not. It's really doing a disservice if you act a certain way. I'm going to let our daughter in the door. Excuse me a second.
No, it's true, and I think, and to rely on that, this doesn't quite feel right. I don't know how many times I've been on in a relationship where it doesn't feel right, but you go with it anyway because you don't want to disrupt or you don't want to stand up, you lose your voice. And I think it's imperative that we say, this isn't working. It's okay. We can part, or we're not going to go forward because we're not aligned. It's okay to say that.
That's right. It is, and you're doing the right thing by the other person too.
Mhm.
You really are, and
Yeah.
and don't feel obligated to. Well, I guess I should go out with him again or go out with her again because I don't want her. Don't even do that. I mean, it's going to be worse in the long run if you go on 3 or 4, 5 dates and all of a sudden there's these expectations and so forth.
That's
So, RJ, let's talk about your journey as a man. What advice do you have men who are seeking the one?
I guess, online dating worked for me, although I begrudgingly did it. I didn't think it would ever work for me, but it doesn't have to be online dating, but it does expand your possibilities a lot because that way you can kind of find other people that have similar interests. And I think that's really important to have common values and similar interests. And like Maggie said, it doesn't have to be, she was a big pickleball player and I've never played. Well, I played one time with her, but so that's not important, but your core values have to be on the same page.
Mhm.
And just don't be afraid to go out there, put yourself out there, but know your value too. Know your value,
That's
and don't let you know let anyone judge you for your past. I used to get a little nervous because I've been divorced twice, and I go
Mhm.
on dates, and all of a sudden, women say, "Well, what?" It's kind of like, "Well, what's wrong with you? Why are you?" I'm like, "Oh boy." That's tell my life story. You've already condemned me. You don't even know what my history is here.
Mhm.
So be confident in yourself and keep an open mind about possible romantic relationships too. I'm very open minded, and that's something I really loved about Maggie. She's very open minded too about lots of things in life, and uh, I don't know your value. That's really important though,
right.
that doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while.
Okay. So, when you saw Maggie for the very first time, what was the thought that immediately went through your mind?
Honestly,
Honest.
did I tell her? So when I saw
Yes.
her online comments and things, and also her pictures. She's a very beautiful lady, obviously. And some of the pictures of her hair was straight, some were curly, like it is now. Well, I'm a sucker for curly hair. Just everybody's got their thing. So I was at the restaurant early, which I'm always early, and I'm waiting for her to come around the corner, and I can't wait to see this gorgeous woman with this curly hair. And she came around the corner, and she looked beautiful, but her hair was straight. I was
Ah,
like, oh man.
Okay.
okay, very good.
All right.
Okay, Maggie, what was the first thing that came into your mind when you saw RJ in person?
So I never told him this, and you get the firsthand account right now. The first thing I noticed about RJ was that his shorts were wrinkled.
Oh my God, his
They
short.
they well they were like cargo shorts. They were casual
Uh,
shorts, but they were kind of wrinkled. And I thought in my head, this was the ego speaking. Like he couldn't he couldn't iron the shorts for our first date. Okay, now that was the deal breaker. Bad on me because after that he was just the most kindest, empathetic, great conversationalist, good looking, um, very doting in a non show off kind of way.
mhm.
Um, Often were just, I was raised by my father who would open the car door for me and put me in the car and serve my plate, and he kind of mimicked that, which I liked, was just very gentlemanly. So I was like, if it's wrinkled shorts, if that's the if that's the absolute uh then I'm good because I got an iron. I can help him out there. And actually when we um got together and I was looking at his wardrobe, it's like he didn't iron anything. So it was no problem. I love to iron, he doesn't. Great fit.
Perfect, perfect. Now, let me see. How do you balance independence with partnership in your marriage? Because you are separate entities that have come together, joined together, and you are developing into someone, the one, the two becoming one. So, how do you maintain your independence?
I think it's important in a relationship I said this earlier today. Like when you fall in love with somebody, why would you want to change them, and why would you want them to do everything you want, that you want to like you fell in love with them for a certain reason,
Mhm.
and we value each other's independence. There are times, we live in a house. It's not a huge house, but it's big enough that if I'm upstairs in the office, or she's downstairs, like this afternoon, she's doing her nails downstairs, whatever. We give each other space and time to do what we need to do. And no one takes anything personally. Like I don't think about, gee, why is she spending so much time upstairs and I'm down here or whatever. You just don't. It's. I knew I was going to mention the Four Agreements sooner or later. It's a book I read 20 some years ago, but one of the Four Agreements is don't take things personally, and that's easier said than done sometimes. I mean, we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it, but just don't. A couple of days earlier this week, Maggie didn't feel really well, and she was a little off, a little different. But I'm not going to take that personally. It's if I do, then that's my ego getting in the way. And she didn't feel well, and I try to make her feel better. But I mean, sometimes you go through a day or two, you just don't feel very well, and you have to realize it's not all about you. It's so.
Right. And we try to like he gets up very early. I mean, I'm a out night owl and he gets to bed early, but we try to go to bed at the same time. He gets up very early. I mean, oh dark 30. But that's great because that's his that's his time of going through his emails and looking at the newspaper, and that's his time. And I don't ever, even if I was to get up early, I would not probably plop down next to him. I would just find something else to do because what we do is we honor our alone time.
Uh-huh.
It's important because when we come together, like, we have wing night tonight and then we're going to, football tailgate tomorrow. So there's plenty of times where we're just like, we're at the hip. But other times it's important. I mean, he needs his time. That's important for his own growth and, quiet time, as do I. So we honor that. I think we really honor each other. So it's easy not to feel, what are you doing over there? Why aren't you paying attention to me? It's never that.
So who reached out to who first? I'm curious.
I reached out to Maggie first through the online dating app. Yeah.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I hadn't been on a dating app before. So, he was a little bit more seasoned, but I was encouraged by girlfriends like, you should just be out there. And I'm thinking like, love, has to come one way. And like you said previously, open yourself up. I had no idea, all I heard was bad things coming from dating apps. Whereas I've noticed now running into people, it's like, oh, we met online. It's like, well, yeah, this is great. Open yourself up because as a healed whole person, you have the ability of saying, this is not going to work or this is not my type. It's just selection and just finding the right selection that you can mesh with.
Something
So,
if I can add one thing really quickly, I've never done this, but I could see the value in speed dating if you're familiar with that kind of format. And I
mhm.
say that because, as I said before, when the other dates I've gone on, I can tell in 5 minutes whether I want to spend time. That doesn't mean I can't tell in 5 minutes whether I want to marry that person. I mean, yeah, but you can tell whether you have some commonalities, you want to spend some more time to get to know that person more. And I could see how you could learn that in speed dating. You kind of know right off the bat, do I like the vibes this person gives off, or do I not? Or I could see how that would work. I don't know. I've never done it though.
I've never done it.
I done it? I think I've conducted a speed dating situation, but I agree with you because at our age, we know what we want.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep.
yeah.
Right.
We know what we want and we know what we don't want.
Mhm.
That's right.
Mhm. Yep, that's a good thing. Last question. Well, last question before I ask the question. But the
Uh-oh.
last question is simply this. Has your definition for love changed as a result of meeting each other?
wouldn't say it's changed. I would say that it's been my my appreciation of love has been enhanced.
It's
I don't
been
know if that makes
amplified.
amplified.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and not just the love that we have for each other, but it extends to family members and friends. And we define family very loosely. I mean, family like people that we share no blood with, but they're just close people, and also family too. And it's really Mag and I together have been able, or what we've told that we exude love, and I take that as a compliment. In our wedding, which was just 3 weeks ago today, I have never in my life been surrounded by so much love in my life, and
Wow.
it was beautiful. The people there, we only had people there that really would exemplify love, and in love wins was that was the theme of the wedding, and it was we've had so many people come up and say it was a fabulous event, and it's just good stuff, but it wasn't because of us. It was because everyone there were like-minded people. There was a lot of diversity there, but the common theme was love, and it was the most loving environment I've ever been in my life. I'll never forget it.
Truly.
Wow.
And we made it a point, Sharon, that I mean, there were family members and people in our overall circle. We had to make the hard decision of we're not going to invite out of obligation, or and we've had some family members on both sides that you just can't, you just can't invite them to the event because they're going to find a reason to argue, fight, etc. And so we had to do the hard work of who is really aligned with us, who exemplifies what we're trying to produce here. And so our view of love, I mean, I think we've had it all along, but it's been exemplified now, it's been amplified now because we're living it. And we haven't had this before. We've always wanted to partner up, we've always wanted to be loving in our neighborhood, in our community, in our family. And for whatever reason, just relationships and marriages didn't work out. But now we're actually walking it through and we're just like, wow, so this is what it's like.
Yeah.
This is what it's like to be so aligned with someone that it's like poetry in motion. I mean, it's sorry to sound so cliche-ish, but it just feels like, man, we're just moving together and it's so nice. Now we have our moments, but
but it's good 99%, and we appreciate it too.
Yeah.
We appreciate the love that's been bestowed upon us by the light, or by whatever you want to say, universe, whatever. And it's just we feel very fortunate, very fortunate.
And also, like, what is the goal of why we want to be together? Why do people want to be together? We want a partner, we want a husband, we want a wife, we want to build, we want to climb together. We have certain business goals, spiritual goals, and it's so nice to do it with someone that you're aligned with.
So my really final question is this: what advice do you have for people who are seeking love that are 40 plus?
I think 40 plus, first of all, there's always hope and there's always love. Put that out there. But also, if there's any places, and I keep going back to the healing, if there's any places in there that have been scarred and bruised and hurt, be very clear about it and deal with that first. And then two, understand who you are and what is it that you want. What is it that you want? I've heard people say, well, when I find my person, then I become whole. And it's like, you got to come whole.
Right.
You got to come whole to the relationship, and that person comes whole, and now you become one, but you come one as whole. And so that's important to really understand what you want. I would say make a list of like 10 characteristics, and if you want, throw in 2 physicals. But to me, I didn't know. I didn't know RJ was what I wanted physically. Um, so I leave that kind of up to, the divine. And but I know spiritually and emotionally, I know what I wanted for sure. And I needed someone who had integrity and honesty, empathy, who had a good foundation of family. Those are the things that are really important. So if you're 40 and up, there is hope and there is love waiting for you. Just be very clear about what you want and what you're not going to put up with.
Oh, that's powerful. RJ.
I would add to that to be genuine, be true to yourself.
Very authentic.
Whatever RJ I was going to portray to the world, make sure it's genuine RJ. Because you don't want someone to be attracted to you or fall in love with you when you try to be somebody else.
That's
Because
great.
you're going to get back to being RJ or Sharon or Maggie sooner or later. And they're going to see who the real Sharon is.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't like the real Sharon. And it's
Mm.
really not even their fault when you acted like Sharon was this person or RJ acted like. So be true to yourself, but both in how you uh, you know act and the way you deal with people, especially on a date. Don't try to be something you're not. Don't try
Mm.
to. The thing she mentioned that I was I was a gentleman on our first date. Well, I was raised that way. I wasn't trying to impress her. Well, I did want to impress her, but I didn't do something then that I wouldn't do if we went out tonight. It's the same. It's just the only way I know how to be. Holding doors, holding an umbrella for it was raining that day. That's RJ. That's how my parents raised me. But also be true to yourself too in the potential partner, and make sure that they live up. They have the values and they're up to your standard. Be true to yourself.
Right.
Always.
Absolutely.
Always.
That is so powerful. And thank you all so much for sharing your story with our viewers and listeners. And, I love you guys.
Oh, I love you too, Cher.
I want you to know that. And I love your story. And I'm sure our viewers will do likewise. So I want to say thank you so much for saying yes to this interview. And it is my expectation that you all will continue to grow older together and that your love will continue to blossom. And I just love y'all.
Received. That's wonderful. Thank you,
Thank
Sharon.
you.
And
Thank you
thank
so
Thank
you to
much.
you.
your viewers as well.
You know I love you, girlfriend.
Love you.